Hello and welcome. In the last video, I talked about using studio horns to get an upfront sound in the style of Saint Motel's My Type. And I'm going to use that session today because I want to talk about kick drums. For us as musicians, composers and producers, kick drums can be one of the toughest things to get right, to get it to sit absolutely in the mix, either cut through the mix or give it a big sort of punchy low end sound. I want to use the session that I used in the previous video to show you how I layered different kick drums up, particularly using drum kit and drum synth. So I get both a low end thump, but also a punchy sound that cuts through the mix. So check out the video, you might find something that you want to try out in your own style of music. Having said that though, we're all producers and musicians in one community together, so if you've got a different way of working, leave a comment and I'd love to try it out. Also stay to the end of the video because I've got my secret weapon that I use when I want to create a bigger, more ambient drum sound, and it's not parallel compression. Well, sort of kind of is, but isn't. Just stay to the end and you'll see the video. The other thing I want to apologize for is that I refer to drum kit as drummer the whole way through. No idea why, but I do know it's drum kit and not drummer. Anyway, on with the show. Okay, so let's first of all just isolate the drums, and I'm going to then talk you through some of the things that I did to get the drums to sound as punchy as they possibly can. Let's just now take a look at the kick drums and what I've done with the kick. There's actually, well, we could say 4 kick drums all together. I've got the kick drum coming off of drummer. The way I've got that to sound, as heavy as it is or as roomy as it is, the first thing I've done is used some EQ to cut the low end off. My heavy kick from Drum Synth is actually doing the low end. And you'll also notice I've taken a lot of the top end out of that kick. But I'm using it as a dynamic EQ, so it's almost sort of kind of compressing it every time that it comes in. The thing that is really making the dramatic difference is the 1176, and I'm actually compressing it quite hard. The attack time is very, very short, and I've also got a lot of input. Now what that is doing is that is really bringing out the room sound. It's squashing everything in. The reason why I did that is because I wanted it to spread across the stereo field. Now that is coupled with Drum Synth. Now I think this is a brilliant synthesizer. It's a great addition to Logic Pro X. What I've done with this one is I've tuned it so that it's a similar pitch to the bass. And I've got 2 basses. I've got a bass from a plugin called Vital, which is a wavetable synthesizer, and this is completely free. It's an amazing plugin. I would highly recommend you go download it. There is a paid option, but I presume it's still free to download. You just don't get as many presets and things like that. But I think functionality wise, it's basically the entire instrument. This is amazing, this instrument, and it sounds like this. What I've done with that synth is I've then added the heavy kick synth. Now if I take out the heavy kick, all the punch is gone. Now, what I did do with this, I worked with the decay quite a lot because I really wanted it to work in time with the music. I wanted it to last long enough so that you could almost hear an audible, distorted note, but at the same time, not so long that it just became a drone. So the drum synth is actually doing quite a lot. It's providing a bit of distortion or saturation. It's providing a note which is almost creating a subharmonic to the growl bass, and also it's got a sort of a top end quality as well, which is complementing or creating more punch for the kick drum from Drummer. What I did with this in terms of processing, quite a lot actually. So I took out a lot of the low mids, boosted the upper frequencies so you get a nice punchy sound, and also gave a real push in the low end, but did cut below 63 hertz, so it's not going to blow your subs up. Then I compressed it, and I think I compressed it very, very hard here. So I'm really trying to distort and get the whole thing to just be pinned down completely. One little tip in compressor, Logic's own compressor, is if you use soft distortion, it really gives it a lovely kind of overdriven roundness if you set it to soft. I basically pretty much use this as standard whenever I use Logic's compressor. And then finally, the same thing as I did with the kick drum, I used the 1176 to really just totally pin down the whole thing. So let's hear Drum Synth without any of the compression and EQing. You can hear that sound and tone is very different, and also it's much shorter. Now by adding all the compression, I'm really squeezing it and it holds on to that note and pins it down. So let's hear it with the growl bass, the live bass guitar, and then the two kick drums. Now, one thing that you might want to do with Drum Synth to actually get it to sound, your kick drum to sound perfect within the mix, is to not tune it in solo. If I actually unsolo everything, play all the parts, I can then sweep through the pitch range, and then you can add all the extra elements like saturation, shape, sweep, all that kind of stuff. Or you could just get crazy and then automate the pitch. I come up with some really cool ideas with that. Drum Synth is really good. Tune it first. And when you tune it, either tune it to two things, your kick drum or your bass guitar part. Now, if you're not sure about how to tune it, one thing that can really help you with the tuning is just by bringing up an EQ. So for example, here with Fab Pro Q3, if I've got the kick drum that I want to tune Drum Synth to, you can see that the fundamental is roughly around 87 hertz. So I can either find on the keyboard where 87 hertz is, which is roughly about, where's 87 hertz gone? So 87 hertz. And then what you can do is just find out where it is on the keyboard. So 87 hertz is going to be roughly the note F. Okay, so let's talk about my secret weapon when I'm writing parts like this, particularly if I'm using Drummer. So here I've got Drummer. But I've also got a second drum kit. And what I've done with this is I've used the Bit Crusher to really add some drive and distortion. I've used the Pro Q3 to take off the low end, take off the top end, and also pull out the low mids. And then on top of that, I've just used Logic's compressor again with the distortion. Now this is like my sidechain compressed or my parallel compression drum kit. So this is really providing the room sound. So if I just play this on its own, and then let's play drummer from the stem parts. Okay, so you can see that the snare is quite short and snappy there, and also the kick is quite thuddy, but there's not much ambience. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this second drum kit in, and listen to what a difference it makes. It suddenly provides all the weight and space. You'll notice that I've actually only mixed it in a very, very small amount. It's at -21. It doesn't need to be much. What you could do for yourselves is set up your main drum kit, and then rather than use parallel compression, if you're using Logic's drummer, you could add a second drum kit, and then from there really compress it hard, take the low end out so you don't get the kick drum really hitting the compressor. It's more about the room sound from the kit, and then just layer it, combine it with the actual track. Let me play the whole track, and I'm going to take the drum kit out and in, and you'll see that if you listen really carefully you can hear the room disappearing. Look at that yourself. You could actually use two kits, one as your kind of side chain or parallel drum kit, and then your other kit as your main kit, which has all the punchy snare, the big kick drum that is providing all the fullness. But the parallel kit is what's going to provide the room, all the weight, all the liveliness, the energy behind it. I think is a really good way of actually making Logic's drum kit sound even bigger and even better. And if you combine it with a bit crusher and then really compress it hard, you can get a really big sounding kit without it blasting everything else in the mix. So if you've got any ways of working with your own drums in Logic, let me know. I'd like to try it out. If you like this tutorial and if you like the stuff that I'm doing, please do hit the like and subscribe button. I really appreciate your support on the channel, and I hope to see you soon. Thanks for watching.